His hands were still on my waist when I heard my phone ring. The sound of my husband's name flashing across the screen felt like a blade slicing through the fog of my desire. I froze. My heart pounded against my ribs as guilt collided with pleasure inside me. The room smelled of sweat, perfume, and betrayal. I looked down at my trembling hands, the same hands that had once vowed loyalty, now tangled in a lie I could never take back. For a brief moment, time stood still. The weight of what I had done pressed down on me until it became hard to breathe. My husband was calling to ask if I wanted him to pick up dinner. I told him I was busy, that I was running late from work. But deep inside, I knew something far darker was unfolding. I had crossed a line that no apology could erase. Before I continue, I want to appreciate all my returning viewers and subscribers. Thank you for being part of this storytelling journey. And to my new viewers who just found this channel, welcome. I cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button because your support is the heartbeat that keeps this channel alive. Every like, comment, and share means more than you know, so please, after this short intro, share your thoughts in the comments. Let us talk about what love, forgiveness, and truth really mean. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. My name is Alyssa Carter. I am a 35-year-old woman living in North Carolina, married for 8 years to a man who once felt like my whole world, Ryan. Ryan was everything a woman could ask for: steady, gentle, patient, and deeply loyal. He was the kind of man who fixed things without being asked, kissed my forehead before work, and never went to bed angry. But over time, something began to fade. It was not love, it was passion. Life became a cycle of routines: wake up, work, dinner, dishes, sleep. The spark that once set our hearts on fire was dimming. I loved him deeply, but I started to feel invisible. He was present but emotionally distant, buried under long work hours and quiet exhaustion. Then came Ethan. Ethan was my colleague, confident, easygoing, and attentive in ways Ryan no longer was. He noticed when I changed my hair. He asked about my day. He made me laugh again. It started innocently, like every dangerous story does. Just conversation. Just connection. Just attention. Until it was not just anymore. I remember that Friday clearly. It was late, the office was empty except for the two of us. I had stayed behind to finish a report, and Ethan offered to help. Music played softly in the background, a love song from the 90s. The kind of song that made you remember what butterflies used to feel like. I laughed at something he said, and he reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. My chest tightened. I should have pulled away, but I did not. Instead, I looked into his eyes, and the silence between us turned heavy. When he kissed me, it was not gentle. It was the kind of kiss that steals your balance, that makes you forget logic and remember desire. It felt wrong, yet my body betrayed me. Every part of me screamed to stop, but another part, the part that had been starved of attention, wanted to feel alive again. The world outside that office disappeared. It was as if years of loneliness, neglect, and quiet resentment exploded into one reckless decision. His hands traced my back, my heart raced, and somewhere between passion and pain, I lost myself. And then, my phone rang. Ryan. The man I had built a life with. The man who loved me without conditions. The man who was probably driving home, thinking about dinner and the kids' weekend plans. My throat tightened as I silenced the call, whispering that I would call him later. That night, after I got home, I stood in the shower for almost an hour. The water could not wash off what I had done. I stared at my reflection, searching for the woman I used to be. The one who believed in loyalty and forever. But all I saw was a stranger. Ryan greeted me with his usual soft smile, holding out a plate of pasta. He said he had missed me. My heart shattered right there. He looked tired but content, completely unaware that his wife had just betrayed him in the worst way imaginable. I kissed his cheek that night with trembling lips. The weight of guilt was unbearable. But instead of confessing, I buried the truth under silence. I told myself it was just a mistake, that it would never happen again. But lies have a way of breeding in darkness. And the longer I hid it, the heavier it grew. Over the next few weeks, Ethan and I pretended nothing had changed, but everything had. The stolen glances at work, the tension, the constant fear of being discovered, it consumed me. I started withdrawing from Ryan, my guilt translating into distance. He noticed. He would ask if I was okay. I would smile and say I was just tired. But inside, I was drowning. Every time he touched me, my heart ached with the memory of what I had done. I could not even meet his eyes some nights. One evening, while Ryan was watching a game in the living room, I sat in bed scrolling through my messages. Ethan's name popped up. "I cannot stop thinking about you," he wrote. My stomach twisted. I knew I should end it, but temptation whispered louder than reason. I typed back something I should not have, and that was the beginning of another mistake. There is something dangerous about sin. It never feels like destruction when you are in it. It feels thrilling, intoxicating, even beautiful. But when it ends, it leaves you hollow. And that hollow space was growing inside me fast. I did not know then that my actions would soon come crashing down in the most heartbreaking way. Because secrets, no matter how carefully buried, always find a way to surface. And mine was about to explode. When I woke up the next morning, I could still feel the weight of guilt pressing down on my chest like a stone. Ryan was already downstairs making breakfast, bacon sizzling, coffee brewing, and his favorite playlist humming softly from the kitchen speaker. Everything looked so normal. So painfully normal. I stared at him from the stairs, watching the man I had promised to love and protect. He moved around our kitchen in a gray t-shirt and sweatpants, his hair still messy from sleep. There was something heartbreakingly pure about that image. It hurt to realize that while he was cooking for me, my heart carried a secret that could destroy him. He looked up, smiled, and said, "Morning, beautiful." Those two words almost made me cry. I sat at the table, forced a smile, and sipped my coffee. My hands were shaking, but I tried to hide it. He asked how work was going. I lied. He asked if I wanted to go on a date that weekend. I said yes, even though my stomach turned with shame. Every sentence felt like a betrayal stacked upon another. That night, as I lay in bed beside him, my mind replayed what had happened with Ethan, the touch, the kiss, the thrill, the regret. I wanted to confess. I wanted to scream it all out and beg for forgiveness. But fear silenced me. Fear of losing the man who had loved me unconditionally. Fear of seeing disgust in his eyes. Fear of the end. So I did what cowards do. I pretended everything was fine. But guilt is not silent forever. The following week, I began to notice changes in Ryan. He was quieter, observant, almost distant. He would watch me sometimes as if he was trying to solve a puzzle. I could tell he was noticing things, the way I avoided eye contact, the way I pulled away when he tried to kiss me, the way I checked my phone too quickly. Then came the night everything started to unravel. It was a Thursday evening. I had just finished a late meeting and was heading home when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Ethan. "I miss you. When can I see you again?" I hesitated before replying. But I did not know that Ryan had borrowed my phone charger earlier that morning, and when he plugged his own phone in that night, my message preview popped up on the screen. When I walked in, Ryan was sitting in the living room, my phone in his hand. His face was pale. His eyes were hollow. He did not say a word for a moment, he just looked at me like he did not recognize who I was anymore. Then he asked, quietly, "Who is Ethan?" The air left my lungs. My knees almost gave out. I felt the blood drain from my face as panic surged through me. I tried to speak, but my voice cracked. He held up the phone, showing me the message. "You miss him," he said. I broke down. Right there on the spot. I dropped to my knees and cried. Every wall I had built to protect my secret crumbled in seconds. I confessed everything, the night at the office, the texts, the guilt that had eaten me alive since that day. My words came out between sobs, but nothing I said could undo what I had done. Ryan just stood there. Silent. Motionless. His jaw was clenched, and his eyes glistened with disbelief. When I reached out to touch him, he stepped back like my hand was fire. He whispered, "How could you?" That question shattered me. There is no answer that can justify betrayal. No excuse that can soften the blow of being cheated on. I wanted to explain my loneliness, my emotional hunger, the distance that had built between us, but those words sounded pathetic even in my own head. I had no right to explain pain that I had caused. Ryan left the room without another word. The next few days were a blur of silence and tears. He slept in the guest room. I barely ate. Every sound in the house echoed like punishment. When he walked past me, I could feel the coldness in the air. It was worse than anger, it was heartbreak. He did not yell. He did not curse. He just became quiet. And that silence was louder than any scream. I tried to talk to him one night, but he stopped me with a single sentence: "I cannot even look at you right now." That sentence broke me in half. I cried until my throat was raw. I prayed, asking God to forgive me, to somehow help me fix what I had destroyed. But no matter how much I prayed, Ryan's distance remained. He started going out late, to the gym, to his brother's house, anywhere but home. When he was home, he barely spoke. The laughter, the warmth, the inside jokes, all gone. I had turned our home into a stranger's house. One afternoon, I came home from work and found that his clothes were gone from the closet. A note was left on the dresser. It said, "I need space. Do not call me." I fell to the floor and screamed until my voice disappeared. My world collapsed in that moment. Days turned into weeks. The bed felt too big. The house felt too quiet. The smell of his cologne on his pillow tortured me every night. I deleted Ethan's number, blocked him, and ended whatever twisted illusion I had been living in. He had been a distraction, not love. Not even close. I stopped wearing makeup. I stopped going out. My heart was consumed with one thing: regret. I realized I had not cheated because I stopped loving Ryan. I cheated because I stopped loving myself. One night, I sat alone in the kitchen, staring at our wedding photo. I could still hear our vows in my head, promises I had broken. I whispered to the picture, "Please come back." A week later, there was a knock at the door. It was Ryan. He looked exhausted. His eyes were red. But behind the pain, I saw a trace of the man who once loved me with everything he had. He stepped inside, and the silence between us was unbearable. I wanted to run to him, but I stayed still, afraid that my touch would hurt him again. He finally said, "I do not know if I can forgive you." Tears ran down my cheeks. "I understand," I whispered. He nodded slowly. "But I cannot stop loving you either." Those words hit me like light breaking through darkness. It was not forgiveness yet. It was not healing. But it was hope. And that was the beginning of something I thought I had lost forever. The days that followed Ryan's visit were slow, quiet, and heavy with uncertainty. He had left again that night, saying he needed more time to think. I did not argue. I had no right to rush his healing. My only prayer was that somehow, God would help him find it in his heart to see that I was truly sorry, that the woman who betrayed him was not the same woman standing in that silence anymore. I began spending my evenings alone in our backyard, the place where we once had coffee together every Saturday morning. I would sit under the fading sunlight, holding my Bible, trying to make sense of the chaos inside me. I read verses about forgiveness, about mercy, about grace. But it was the verse in Psalms that broke me: "The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart, O God, you will not despise." For the first time, I understood that forgiveness was not just something I wanted from Ryan, it was something I needed from God. Weeks turned into months. The distance between us remained, but slowly, small cracks of light began to appear. One evening, I received a message from him. "Can we talk?" I froze, staring at those 3 words until my eyes blurred. When he arrived, he looked thinner, quieter, older somehow, like the weight of heartbreak had aged him overnight. I offered him coffee. He accepted. We sat across from each other, 2 people bound by love and broken by betrayal. "I have been seeing a counselor," he began. "She said healing is not just about moving on. It is about understanding why it happened." I nodded, my voice barely a whisper. "I have been seeing one too." He looked surprised. "You have?" "Yes. I needed to face the parts of me that got lost before I hurt you. I needed to understand why I kept searching for validation instead of cherishing what I already had." For the first time in months, his eyes softened. He said quietly, "I loved you even when you were pushing me away, Alyssa. But I was so busy trying to provide that I did not see how lonely you had become." Tears streamed down my face. "I did not cheat because I stopped loving you, Ryan. I cheated because I stopped feeling worthy of your love. I thought I needed excitement, but what I really needed was connection. I just looked for it in the wrong place." He leaned back, sighing. "It still hurts, you know. Every time I look at you, I remember that night. The messages. The lies." I nodded. "I know. And I will never ask you to forget. I just hope, someday, you can forgive." He looked down at his coffee cup, silent for a long time. Then he said something I will never forget. "You broke my heart, Alyssa. But you also taught me how fragile love can be if we stop tending to it. Maybe we both lost sight of us." That night, he left again. But this time, when he hugged me before walking out the door, I felt something different. Not goodbye, but maybe. 2 weeks later, he called and asked if I wanted to join him for a drive. I said yes without hesitation. The moment I stepped into his car, I could feel how nervous we both were. The silence between us was filled with memories, some beautiful, some painful. He drove us to the lake where we had our first date years ago. The same place he proposed. The same place we had once danced under the stars. The sight of it brought tears to my eyes. Ryan parked and turned off the engine. The lake shimmered under the evening sky, reflecting the soft colors of sunset. He looked at me and said, "Do you remember this place?" I nodded, smiling faintly. "I remember every second." He sighed. "So do I. I used to think this was the happiest memory of my life. But then I realized. Memories only mean something if we keep creating new ones." I looked at him, unsure where he was going with that. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded letter. "I wrote this the night I left," he said. "But I never sent it." I took it carefully. My hands shook as I unfolded the paper. His handwriting filled the page, raw and honest. "Alyssa, I am not sure what hurts more, what you did, or the fact that I still love you despite it. I wanted to hate you. I tried. But even in my anger, I missed you. I missed our talks, our laughter, the sound of you singing in the shower. Maybe love really does cover a multitude of sins. Maybe forgiveness is the last proof of love left standing when everything else falls apart." I could not stop crying. Ryan watched me quietly. "I came here today," he said softly, "to tell you that I forgive you. Not because it is easy. Not because you deserve it. But because holding on to anger has been killing me. I want my peace back. And maybe, someday, I want us back." I broke down completely. My heart felt like it was being rebuilt right there in front of him. I whispered, "I do not deserve you." He smiled faintly. "Maybe not. But neither of us deserves the kind of love that gives second chances, yet here it is." Then he opened his arms. And I fell into them. That embrace felt different from any we had shared before. It was not passion or relief. It was forgiveness, the kind that burns and heals at the same time. I felt his heartbeat against my cheek, steady and real. It was the sound of home. We stayed like that for what felt like forever. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in soft gold and crimson. Everything around us went quiet, the world paused, just long enough for two broken people to start healing together. Ryan finally whispered, "If we are going to rebuild, it has to be from the ground up. No lies. No walls. Just truth." I nodded. "I am ready." He smiled, brushing a tear from my face. "Then let us find our forever again." That night, as he drove me home, we talked, really talked, for the first time in months. We talked about love, communication, intimacy, and faith. We made promises not of perfection, but of effort. When we got home, he walked me to the door like he used to when we were dating. He kissed my forehead and whispered, "This time, we start over, not as the people we were, but as the people we are becoming." I went to bed that night with peace for the first time in a long while. The kind of peace that comes after storms, when you finally see light breaking through the clouds. Love, I learned, is not about never falling. It is about choosing to stand again, together. I nearly lost my forever. But in his arms, I found it again. Not perfect. Not easy. But real. And sometimes, that is the kind of forever that lasts.